Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome back to TCG Madness. In today's video, we are taking a look at another altered TCG starter deck. Today's deck is Lyra. Now this deck is pretty much its gambling, dice rolling deck, so in other words, high risk, high reward, and I'm very interested to see the final product of this deck and to see what cards we can take out and add, and to give it some much better synergy and some much better firepower for this deck. Now, before we go any further, if you guys are doing me a really big favor right now, please, if you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to also hit that like button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you guys never miss when I drop a video. Don't forget to also comment if you guys have any other, maybe critiques or maybe some things that I did that you guys would do differently. Do all that kind of stuff. Share it with a friend, all that good stuff. You guys kind of know the routine by now. With that being said, let's go ahead and crack into this deck. Now, I'm very, very excited to get into this one because this was a deck that I wasn't too thrilled about it when I was play testing with this deck. I do think this deck could have been better, definitely could have used some much better synergy because the dice rolling was definitely in effect, but just not to its full potential. So I'm very curious to see what the final product of this deck looks like. So pretty standard by now. You guys kind of know how these decks kind of go and look. Let's go ahead and see if we can crack it open. There we go. Of course, we have our traditional, the new player scan code, boring. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the deck itself, which is Navenka and Balach. A lot of stuff going on with this hero. Target, you pretty much tap it, target a character you control, then roll a die. On a 6+, it gains anchored. On a 2 through 5, it gains 1 boost, and on a 1, you have to send it to the reserve. So again, very high risk, high reward type of deck, and it's all about dice rolling, which is, again, it can be a lot of fun if you like that type of gambling decks. This deck is definitely going to be for you. It's not really for me, but we'll see what we'll see what the final product has. Looks like we do get a playset of Hather, a 2/3. Nothing crazy there, pretty vanilla. We've seen a lot of vanilla cards in these starter decks too, which is nice. We also have the Hatter, a 4/5 for a 5/5. Get a playset of those ones. Here's a Lyra Cloth Dancer for a 3/2, 0/3/2, up to 1 target character gains fleeting, which is pretty good. A little bit of pseudo removal. We also have a Lyra Chronicler for a 3/3 for a 4/4. Again, more vanillas. We got Ouroboros Croupier, 4/4. Roll a die. On a 4+, draw a card. On a 1 through 3, resupply. So that's pretty good there. I do like that card. We also have a All In. So more dice rolling cards here. I really like this card. Let's see if we get a rare. No rares. That'd probably be something I would definitely change. I also have a Lyra Scold. Again, 2/2. Pretty vanilla. Here's a card that I definitely think is probably one of the best cards in the deck. The Ouroboros Trickster. It's a 2/1 for a 0 across the board, but you roll a die. On a 4+, gain 2 boost. On a 1 through 3, just gain 1. Pretty good there, and it comes out of the reserve for 1, so that's really good there. We do get one rare version of it, so I like that. And it's a little more of a high risk, high reward card. So again, roll a die, and on a 4+, you gain 3 boost. On a 1 through 3, gain a boost. So you can see just a little bit of a different type of card there. Esmeralda for a 2/2. Resupply when you play her. We do get a rare Esmeralda for a 2/3, a 0/2/2, and if you play the hand or the reserve, resupply. So pretty good there. We also have Paint Prison. So this will gain, it has fleeting, and you may discard a card from your reserve to reduce my cost by 2. Return target character or permanent to the top of its owner's deck. I would like to actually bring it into the hand, not to my top of my owner's deck. I really don't like that card. So, and then of course we have a Paint Prison rare. You may discard a card from your hand to reduce it by 1, so a little bit better, and does the same thing. Return target permanent to the owner's deck, top of the deck. We also have Tanuki, a 3/3. It has Sabotage, so we get a playset of those, plus a rare version of it for a 3/3, 3/3 across the board, Sabotage, and when you play him at a reserve, roll a die. On a 4+, Sabotage again. So you can really just absolutely destroy your opponent's reserve. Asmodeus, which is also probably the win condition, the strongest of the rolling dice cards. 6/6 for 5 across the board. Roll a die. On a 4+, I gain anchor. On a 1 through 3, I gain 3 boost. So pretty good there. Definitely a card that's a good target for your hero. And of course we have the rare version, which is just a reduced cost with higher statistics. So pretty good there. We also have the Ouroboros Lyra Bastion, 3/3. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice plus 1 and ignore the roll of your choice. So Definitely need a play set of that in this deck. That'll definitely be something we adjust. And we also have a 2/1 Metagrin Mage Dancer. 2/1, one across the board, and then when you roll one or more dice, I gain 1 boost. So really, really strong card there. And off you go. Send to reserve target character with a hand cost of 3 or less. And then, of course, we have our typical, all the cards you kind of need to play a pretty much standard game of Altered TCG. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go through this deck. I'm going to show you guys what cards that I'm going to take out, and then we're going to go to Altered GG, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what cards I would add with the cards that you just took out to give this deck some much-needed firepower. So with that being said, let's go ahead and show you guys the cards that I would take out. All right, now that we went over the contents of the deck, now let's go ahead and show you guys the cards to take out. And then after this, we're going to go ahead and shift over to Alter GG, and I'm going to show you guys new cards that you would add. Starting with the rares, we're going to go ahead and remove the 1 rare Tanuki. I like this card. It's not a very good card, though. I like just the basic version of him. It's a 3/3 with just Sabotage. With the rare version, we get the roll a dice on a 4+ Sabotage again. So I don't like that we have to get a 4+ to do Sabotage twice, basically, which is nice. I'd just rather have the regular version just do Sabotage once. So we're going to go ahead and remove that card. The next card we're going to remove is the rare Paint Prison, excuse me. Don't like this card at all. And then we're also going to remove the Adefaction rare Off You Go. Good card, just don't think in this deck we're doing a lot of like removing spells. What we're going to do is do high risk, high reward. The other cards we're going to be getting rid of as far as the commons, we're going to get the play set of Lyra Scold. So we're going to remove all of those. We're going to remove the play set of the Hathers. We don't need that card either. Pretty vanilla. We're also going to get rid of, again, the play set of the Lyra Chronicler, because again, we have much better options. We're also going to remove 1 copy of All In. We're going to remove 1 copy of the Hatter, and then we're going to remove the remaining copies of Paint Prison. This card in general, I don't like at all. Too many things you have to do to like actually get the best value out of it. Plus, it also costs 5. That's very high cost. There are much better cards to add. Speaking of cards to add, let's go ahead and shift over there, and let me go ahead and show you guys the cards to add. All right, now I'm here at Alter GG. Let me go ahead and show you guys the cards to add to this deck that would give us some much better synergy and firepower. Now, you'll notice all the cards that I added in this deck are really just dice rolling and getting the most bang for our buck. That's really what we're trying to do. We're doing a high risk, high reward deck. We need to make sure that we're going to basically be gambling a lot with this deck, and we need to make sure that that gamble pays off. And the only way you can really do that is to put the most cards that will allow you to either do extra re-rolls, that will allow you, like, you'll see extra cards that will add certain numbers to dice, or roll some dice and be able to remove a dice and pick the one that you want. And then make sure that when we do that, we're getting, again, the most bang for our buck. And then make sure that if we're going to be gambling, we're doing high stakes, and when we do high reward, we need to make sure we're adding cards that at least solidify that, hey, we're going to win this turn, and we're going to advance either our hero or our companion and actually win the game. So starting off with the cards to add, we're going to add 1 copy of All In. This is a rare copy. I love this card a lot. It's a 3/3 roll a die. You may discard a card from your reserve to increase the result by 2. Again, giving the most bang for our buck. It also then goes on to say target character gains X boost, where X is the final result. So if you're rolling even with your hero, or if you're rolling with another card like Asmodeus, and you want to make sure you're either getting anchored or you're making sure you're getting all those boost tokens for him and stuff like that, you want to make sure that if you're gambling, you're getting the result you need. If you're gambling, you're not always going to win, so we need to make sure that if we are going to gamble, we need to make sure we get the highest stakes of being sure that we can get the result that we want. This card absolutely does that for you. Also, to keep in mind with the cards that we did take out, we're only left with 5 rares. Again, quick disclaimer, I don't know what your unique situation looks like. So if you have a unique card that says, roll a bunch of dice, do all these crazy things, it probably deserves to be in this deck. Just a quick disclaimer. I'm only going to show you guys cards that I know you guys can go out and purchase and add to the deck itself. I don't know what your unique situation looks like. So again, with only 5 rares left, we have to make sure we round out all of that to 15. So 1 copy of All In will just do the trick for this deck so far. The next card we're going to add is an Adefaction rare. Pretty basic. We're going to add 2 copies of Magical Training. I like this card because, number 1, it's a very cheap cost out of your hand. So you pay 1, draw a card. Pretty simple. Then it goes right to your reserve. If you want to pay 3 to draw a card, you can do that if you wish. It's a pretty good card just on its own. I like drawing cards. I don't know about you. I'm sure most players like to draw cards. 2 copies of it just to be able to just pay 2 and draw 2 cards is pretty good for me, so I kind of like that card. I do think it does deserve to be in this deck. Of course, if you don't like that, make your own. decision from there. This next one might come at a little bit of a surprise to you. We're going to add 3 copies of an out of faction rare Ceronius. Now you might be saying to yourself, what does this card add as far as value or rolling dice? It doesn't do any of that. The reason why this card belongs in this deck is because it's a 3/3 for 4s across the board. Your hero alone can boost up just by rolling, I think, a 2 through 4, something like that. Imagine playing for 3 mana, using your hero, and then giving this thing just 1 boost. Now you're paying 3 mana for a 5 across the board. That is very, very powerful. There are not a lot of cards in this deck that have baseline stats at 4 across the board, which is why I do think this card absolutely deserves to be in this deck. We have a lot of weak cards, again, because we're doing high risk, high reward gambling. If you roll the correct dice, you'll be able to boost up characters, but if you don't, you need at least some cards that you can play that'll at least have some baseline stats like this that are just right on the board and just boom, put your opponent on the back end of the back foot, and you're like, okay, this is a 3 mana and my opponent still has a couple of mana left. They have 4s across the board. I gotta either deal with it or I gotta be able to play a lot of high value cost cards myself and to be able to counter something like this. Just playing a very vanilla card like this can actually put your opponent at risk of being like, all right, I'm probably gonna lose or not be able to advance. Pretty powerful. I do think it does deserve to be in this deck. The next card we're going to add is 2 copies of a 1-drop. This is Mertangle. It's a 1/1. It's pretty weak on its own. However, it does state for the rare version, if you would roll a dice, you may add 1 to its result. Again, this is what I'm talking about. High risk, high reward. We got to make sure if we're doing that, we got to make sure we get the results we want. This card, by playing just 1 mana out of your hand or out of your reserve, can absolutely do that for you. It also has a quick action. The next card you play this turn cost 1 less, so you can also use it for its quick action as well. I just love this rare version right here. If you would roll a die, add 1 to its result, I think that's pretty good. I like to, you may add 1, you may actually not. So pretty good there. Next up, we're going to add 1 copy of Kajigron, we're going to add another copy of Mage Dancer. How about that? We're going to add 1 copy of an out of faction rare Mage Dancer to 2/1 for 1s across the board. When you roll 1 or more dice, I gain 1 boost. You're always going to be rolling dice in this deck, so you might as well just get the most bang for your buck and boost the character up. We also already have 1 out of faction rare of him, so let's go ahead and bump that 1 to 2. I like this card a lot. Again, there's going to be an argument that if you don't like 3 copies of Ceronius, you can take down that 1 copy and add another copy of the Mage Dancer. I can easily see an argument being made for that as well. Plenty of manipulations you can do. To round out our rares, we're going to add 1 copy of the Ouroboros Inkcaster. This is a 2/2 for 2s across the board. When I go to the reserve from the Expedition Zone, you may return another card from your reserve to your hand. The card you want to target the most is this card. Bouncing those 2 back and forth like that by playing Ouroboros Inkcaster and getting magical training, so you can then pay 1 mana to draw another card. If you're constantly doing that with this card, this is the best target right here. I easily think this is going to help you win the game, search the cards you want, because really the card you're looking for is Asmodeus. I left all 3 copies of it in the deck because it belongs in this deck. It's either 6-drop plus the rare is a 5-drop. Absolutely deserves to be in this deck. It is your win condition. You play him twice, your opponent's not going to know what to do with it. It's just too damn strong. The other cards you pretty much want to target, because if you notice, all the cards that we have are just 1/1s, 1s and stuff like that. So that's why you want to target magical training with Ouroboros Inkcaster. This card is so good. Actually, we're going to round out the Ouroboros Inkcaster. So we got 1 rare. We're going to round out all of them with adding 2 more to the deck, giving this, again, more synergy with your deck, because cards that go to your reserve, you just want to bounce that back to your hand. Again, the card you're going to be targeting the most, guys, it should be anyways, is magical training. So round out the Ouroboros Inkcaster. Let's get all 3 copies of it, putting 1 rare and 2 normal common versions of it in your deck. Next card we're going to add to the deck, it should be no surprise, is the permanent landmark. We're going to add 2 copies of the Ouroboros Lyra Bastion. This is pretty much the best permanent landmark you can have in the deck. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice plus 1. Ignore the roll of your choice. Again, high risk, high reward. You're going to be able to get the results you want by playing these cards. The last 2 copies that you're going to add to your deck, the last card you're going to add to the deck, is Ride the Bifrost. This card is amazing. I absolutely love this card. Again, if you're doing all this gambling and you're doing all this high risk, high reward, you better be sure that you are advancing your character. So for example, if you're noticing that your opponent is stacking all their cards on the hero side and you too are stacking all your cards on the hero side, they have completely ignored the companion zone, and you're like, listen, all I have to do is just advance one more time. I've done all this high gambling, high stakes, and my opponent just somehow stymied me, and you have 2 mana, this is the card you're going to want to play, because for 2 mana, all characters you control switch Expedition. So again, if you have maybe ignored your companion, so as your opponent, you guys are stacking Hall in the Hero, which a lot of games have done that before. Playing this card and taking all those cards and then switching them over to the Companion Zone and guaranteeing you a win, or either something crazier like that. This card can do a lot of little cheeky, sneaky ways of winning you the game, or at the very least making sure that your gambling is paying off. Switching Expedition Zones is pretty much a Lyra exclusive, so be sure to use this card. I can also see, maybe taking out one more less copy of this card and adding to the Ride of the Bifrost, making sure you have 3, because this card is really that powerful. Definitely give it a look. That is going to do it for this deck. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Again, there's a lot of cards to take out and add, but once you do that, man, this deck really hums and the synergy is unbelievable. It's also one of the most fun decks you can play, but also the most frustrating decks to play. It's also the hardest to master because there's a lot of dice manipulation, deck manipulation, rules manipulation that you are doing with this deck. Again, high risk, high reward. I definitely think this deck, though, is one of the most fun decks to play. Also, though, definitely one of the most frustrating. But let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. Don't forget to comment down below if you guys think I missed anything. Please be sure to hit that like button. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time.